The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Maxine Seymour.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I too would like to give God thanks and praise for all of his goodness, his faithfulness to us, lo, these past 50 years. And it's amazing how tradition continues. I looked at some 50-year-old photographs of the tattoo that night, July 9th, 1973. I looked at the crowds, I looked at the flag raising, and the only thing absent was the Technicolor. It's amazing how those traditions have continued, things like the beat retreat, like the tattoo, even the ball, because at the PM's gala, Lady Pinling danced with the PM in the very dress she danced with the prince in. And so we've been able, over the past 50 years, to capture and perfect some events to celebrate. And so I'm happy to see that the Independent Secretariat, led by Her Excellency, continued in that 50-year tradition in terms of executing on these national events to celebrate our independence. Madam President, I rise to contribute on the Exempted Limited Partnership Amendment Bill and International Business Companies Act Amendment. Madam President, when it comes to business, some may say that these bills are technical, and they are, but some of it comes down to plain old common sense. From my understanding, in an exempted limited partnership, there's at least one general partner who, if something goes down, as people put it, is liable or has unlimited liability. And of course, that partner can be someone who resides in country or business registered here. The limited partner, on the other hand, is likely to get off scot-free, so to speak, as that person has limited liability. And these things are important to the common man when doing business with a company, because you need to know if you sue, if a company is dissolved, you know, because most often companies set up in a way to protect themselves and their assets. And so the reality is that the everyday person might be left with limited options. And so, for example, it's no use suing a homeless person for breaking your windshield, because no matter what the court finds, it is unlikely that he or she will be able to foot the cost of repair. And so understanding things like these companies and the way they're structured is very important for all Bahamians. An IBC, or an international business company, on the other hand, has been explained, may be domestically registered, but transacts business all over the world. And partners are not exposed or their privacy identified, like they get to be anonymous. And so this type of business is not necessarily concentrating on doing business with me or with my neighbor or the lady in Carmichael or the gentleman in South Beach. They're only registered here because our country is attractive due to its neutral tax structure, or simply put, its tax benefits and financial privacy, among other advantages that make people who are setting up offshore businesses love our country. The Bahamas Financial Services Board's website puts it like this when speaking of the Bahamas, and I quote, "The country's mature financial services industry, established infrastructure, progressive government, tax-neutral environment, and luxury lifestyle all have been cultivated very carefully to position it as a center for international business," end quote. In basic terms, Madam President, we do what we have to, whether in law, programs, or policies, to attract investments and businesses. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong with that. And so here we are today, making it possible for an exempted limited partnership to transition to an international business company, among other things, which is all good. And it's all good, Madam President, because financial services is important to us, and we need to get it right. The industry is a significant contributor to the country's economy. But what we need from this New Day government more than anything, Madam President, is a comprehensive plan on financial services. Personally, I thought the plan was cryptocurrency, because At the outset, that's all I heard. It was like the buzzword. But now it seems to have become the forbidden word. So here we are, coming to this parliament to pass amendment after amendment after amendment, financial services related. But where are we heading long term? Does anyone know where we are heading and what the plan is to get us there? It's okay to pass bills, and not even bills. Like I said, amendment, amendment, amendment. 1 page here, 2 pages here, 3 pages there. And like the good Senator Griffin said, if it's one word that makes a difference, he's in on it, and he's all for it. And I agree. But the reality is that while we maintain a strong commitment to financial regulation and compliance, especially with international standards, and that is all to ensure the integrity and stability of our financial services industry, but at the same time, we need an overall plan for financial services. There are challenges in financial services that require a comprehensive national response. For example, Madam President, everyone keeps talking about how commercial banks, the foreign ones in particular, have reduced their presence on some of our family islands. But what are we doing about it, and when? You know, the banks, they restructure here, consolidate there, until, voila, poor Aunt May on Long Island can't bank the way she used to. Madam President, it's an electronic age, and indeed, I rarely keep cash on me. But I'll tell you, if I'm cash-strapped, an ATM is likely within 5 minutes away. But that is not the experience for the people in North Andros, Madam President. And God only knows how it has worsened now that electricity is a rare luxury for them. I've heard firsthand and seen photos of reports of the queue at the ATM, particularly on government payday, or when the bag reads, so to speak. They come, they fill the ATM, and then everybody lines up to get money. In fact, there's even been, to my knowledge, a fight, physical altercation that has gotten really rough and had persons injured just because people are trying to access an ATM on North Andros to get cash. Madam President, these days, can you imagine having to fly into New Providence to do your banking? Can you imagine? We complain about the fees, which are ridiculous. We complain about $1 here, $5 there, but imagine a round-trip ticket from North Andros in order to go to the bank. Madam President, it's fabulous that international business companies and exempted limited partnerships are being legislatively enhanced here today. But what about commercial banking? These are real issues that people face daily. Madam President, we must always, always, always remember that we are an archipelago. It is easy to forget, I guess, because we hold events in the capital and we call them national. We improve things here, but we have to remember everyone, everywhere, because we are all equally Bahamian. People get this notion that somehow, some way, some may be more Bahamian or more entitled based on whatever metrics they come up with in their own limited minds, but that is not the case. Every Bahamian, man, woman, boy, girl, able-bodied, persons with disabilities, Exumians, Nasuvians, Androsians, Long Islanders, we are all entitled to the rights and privileges that come with citizenship of our sovereign nation. I'll tell you, Madam President, the good minister and chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party rarely, if ever, gives me reason to agree with him on anything. But I'll tell you, what he has to say about commercial banking is mostly spot on. We need greater regulations and perhaps legislation. That's the financial services legislation that I'm hoping that we are here soon to vote on. And we'll leave it to our very intelligent and intellectual AG who's more than capable of finding the solutions. Madam President, banks, when they want to, they find solutions. And if our outer will listen to some of the solutions or the suggestions, if our outer islands were a priority, they would do just that, Madam President. Even if it is impractical, to establish physical branches in every community, Madam President, even if the banks can't establish physical branches. What they can do is they can place agents on the islands, Madam President, to help facilitate basic banking transactions and to provide information on banking services, bridging the gap between the banks and the community. Improving access to commercial banking services on less populated islands is a critical goal for promoting economic development and financial inclusion. Madam President, and this one is for the AG. The time these banks spend promoting mobile banking, you know, if he'd listened a little more, then he'd hear that the reality is that the same way they promote mobile banking, that they could actually launch mobile banking. And what do I mean? They can find a mobile office trailer, perhaps, and remodel it. Send it to Andros and fly in officers bi-monthly. Better still, put it on a mailboat and alternate between islands each week. There's something that could be done. The reality is that we're solution-oriented, and men have visited the moon. So I believe that if we want to find solutions, that we can. Because, Madam President, the reality is that in these unbanked and underbanked communities, cash is still king. And furthermore, Madam President, through you, even if residents wanted to use digital currency, it is not accepted everywhere. So the government, Madam President, needs to hasten its efforts to ensure that at the very least, all government services across our archipelago can be paid for with the mighty sand dollar. If it is not widely accepted in the public sector, then we cannot point fingers at the private sector. Perhaps this can feature prominently in the Comprehensive National Plan for Financial Services, as soon as the government comes up with one. Madam President, we must make business, doing business, the ease of doing business, banking, and all related financial services more inclusive. Inclusive for citizens and residents, no matter their geography, age, or ability. Equal access to financial resources and support over the next 50 years, including continued banking services for the elderly and persons with disabilities, is essential. Specialized services should be provided to cater to the unique needs and challenges faced by these populations. Branches are still important. And where they exist, Madam President, banks should strive to create a welcoming and accessible environment for all customers, including those with physical disabilities. And whether that means the basic and obvious facilities like ramps or elevators at the physical locations, or assistive technologies like screen readers, for example, voice commands, and other features to ensure that the visually impaired customers can access services. Specialized accounts for the elderly and persons with disabilities so that they pay no fees or reduced fees need to continue and even be enhanced. Madam President, notices that are sent out by banks may need to be written in larger fonts. A sign language interpreter should perhaps be provided when a customer with hearing impaired presents for certain services, whether that's a loan or whatever. The bank needs to have a sign interpreter there, Madam President. We also need to protect elderly customers in particular from fraud and financial exploitation, as they may be more vulnerable. Madam President, immigration is a hot topic right now, and the more popular discussion surrounds certain work permits. But I want the government to remember that Bahamians are more than qualified to occupy jobs at every level in the financial services industry. So when we talk permits, remember that all permits issued result in restricted opportunities for Bahamians. Bahamians are qualified and capable. There's a Bahamian rocket scientist, for goodness sake. And we already know for sure that Bahamians can run banks. Gowan Bowe does it every day. LaSonia Missick does it every day. And so does Denise Turnquest. So at the higher levels, Madam President, we need to make sure that Bahamians occupy these roles. And so, Madam President, as I support the Exempted Limited Partnership Bill and the International Business Companies Amendment, I want us to remember that when it comes to financial services, whether that is business or banking, we need to ensure that there is personalized support and training to help the more vulnerable use technology properly. Whether it's business or banking, Madam President, we must be sensitive to the unique needs of all persons in the Bahamas to ensure inclusion. Madam President, as I have said multiple times before, I want to see a Bahamas for all Bahamians. And so I want to see more inclusion in all sectors of our society, including financial services. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you for your contribution, Senator Honorable Maxine Seymour. As many.